Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to sit down with you and really talk about something fresh that just dropped in the gaming world. And if you've been following Kingdom Come Deliverance II, then you already know how much this game has been expanding and evolving with every update. The 1.4 patch is here. And honestly, it's not just a little bug fix patch. It's a massive shift with new content and mechanical changes and a ton of quality of life improvements that are shaping the way the game feels right now. So I figured, let's just hang out, talk through it in detail, and unpack all the cool new stuff, the fixes, and even those little quirky changes that make you smile when you spot them. This is going to be long because there's a lot to cover, and if you're like me, you'll probably want to know every single tweak, especially if you're planning to jump back into Bohemia with Henry. First things first, the biggest headline here is the new DLC that launched with the patch, called Legacy of the Forge. Now, this one is special because it doesn't just throw you some weapons or armor. It actually lets you go back and rebuild Henry's forge, which ties into his roots and his story in such a personal way. The cool thing is that this isn't just a static structure you walk past or use once. It's a customizable feature with an insane amount of options. When I say insane, I mean over 1 million different combinations. That's right, you can decorate, build, and personalize it however you want, almost like the developers decided to sneak a little medieval city builder inside this gritty RPG. For players who enjoy crafting and designing spaces, this is going to keep you busy for hours. And even if you're more into combat and story, the forge still matters because it feels like a piece of Henry's history finally being restored, and you're the one shaping it. Now, alongside that, photo mode got a complete overhaul, and this is one of those things I know a lot of people might shrug off at first, but trust me, it changes how you experience the game. Before, the mode was kind of bare bones. You could take some shots, but it felt limited, and sometimes the effects were a little rough around the edges. With 1.4, the developers went in and gave it new depth, expanded effects, better controls, and a way to tweak the environment in your shots, like changing the time of day or adjusting the camera with way more precision. They even fixed the annoying blur issues and the poison visual artifacts that ruin screenshots. For anyone who loves sharing screenshots online or just capturing the beauty of this game, it's going to feel like a whole new tool. Personally, I think it's one of the best stealth upgrades of this patch because it lets you see the world differently, almost like you're both a player and a photographer wandering through Bohemia. But okay, let's get into the gameplay tweaks, because this patch didn't just add content, it reshaped balance and mechanics. If you're someone who fights with polearms, you're going to love this. They added a new perk called Infantryman, which boosts your polearm skill and lowers enemy defense when you're wielding those massive weapons. On top of that, halberd durability nearly doubled, which is a huge relief, because before, those weapons would wear down too quickly, and it felt like you were being punished for using them. Now you can go into battles without stressing over your weapon breaking every 5 swings. It's small on paper, but it completely changes how viable polearms feel in longer fights. Another hilarious but strangely satisfying fix is that Henry can finally cook eggs again. I don't know why, but that bug where he couldn't cook something so simple felt like such a goofy immersion breaker. And it's funny how much joy something like this can bring back into the game. It's those little slice of life touches, like cooking food properly, that make this world feel alive. Speaking of food, they also tweaked how alcohol spoils, making it last longer before it goes bad, and they added proper stats and icons for things like leeks and parsnips. It's one of those details you probably won't notice right away, but once you see it, you'll appreciate how much effort goes into making every item feel meaningful. Now let's talk about combat and crime mechanics, because this is where the patch really cleaned things up. Polearm combos now take 3 moves instead of just 2, which makes them feel more balanced, and they fixed weird enemy behaviors like scabbards spinning around or awkward charging animations. Crime in general got reworked too. Guards are smarter now when it comes to investigating, dialogues around arrests make more sense, and the logic behind stealing or looting is more consistent. If you ever felt like the system was a little unfair, especially when NPCs would react in strange ways to crimes, this patch makes it all smoother and more believable. It makes the law feel like a real presence in the world, not just a random punishment machine. NPC behavior across the board has seen improvements. In settlements, they navigate more naturally, doors open properly, and drunken villagers aren't just wandering around in silly numbers anymore. Daily life feels more authentic, which might sound like a minor detail, but in a game like this where immersion is everything, it matters a lot. It's about creating that sense that you're in a living, breathing medieval town, not just watching scripts play out. Even random events on the road got touched up. Things like caravans spawning better, bandits reacting more realistically, prisoners behaving as you'd expect. All these things pile together to create that feeling of unpredictability and realism when you're exploring. Now, horses. We all know how much horses matter in this game, and the developers put some serious work into making riding smoother. They fixed issues with collisions, camera behavior, and even addressed sliding problems. On top of that, stolen horses now stay in your possession a little longer, so you don't feel like you wasted time grabbing one just to lose it instantly. It's one of those quality of life tweaks that makes exploration less frustrating and more fun. I also have to point out the dice game fixes, because if you've ever sat down to gamble in the tavern, you know how buggy it could get. Quitting sometimes broke the game and the die rolls felt off. That's all been adjusted, so the game of dice is not only fairer, but also less buggy, which is perfect if you like to pass time with mini games. On the technical side, a lot of those frustrating getting stuck issues have been addressed. No more getting trapped in awkward spots in the environment, or hitting invisible barriers in water, or watching your horse wander into a restricted area where it clearly doesn't belong. They also added a new fast travel point near Sigismund's camp, which might not sound huge, but if you've had to trek that way before, you'll know how much of a time saver it is. Even smaller systems got love. Companion objectives with Mutt are smoother, shield painting works properly, and rented rooms won't glitch out and lock you from your own bed. They even fixed weird reputation penalties tied to indulgences, so the system feels more consistent. Shops got a polish, armor models like the pros gear were corrected, and food icons were standardized to look clean and readable. These little touches don't scream excitement, but they're the kind of polish that makes you stop mid-game and think, wow, this actually feels better now. What really gets me, though, is how the patch strikes a balance between big, flashy additions like the Forge DLC and subtle fixes that just make the world smoother to live in. You can tell the developers are listening closely to players. People wanted more creative freedom, so they delivered with Legacy of the Forge. People were frustrated by bugs and inconsistencies, so they squashed those too. And through it all, they keep layering improvements that make the game richer without losing its core identity. It's also worth noting how these updates reflect on the future of the game. Every patch seems to hint at the developers not just maintaining the game, but expanding it in ways that build on player imagination. Like with the Forge, we basically get a medieval house-building system with a million combinations. It's wild, and it makes you wonder what they'll experiment with next. Are we going to get deeper town-building mechanics? More personalized spaces? New story arcs that tie into the environment? It feels like the possibilities are wide open right now. And I've got to say, this patch feels like one of those times where the game rewards both new players and veterans. If you're just getting into Kingdom Come Deliverance II, you're jumping in at a time when the systems are more stable, more balanced, and way more immersive. If you've been here since launch, you're finally seeing those pain points fixed, and you're getting new content on top of it to sink your teeth into. It's a win-win situation. Now, for me personally, the moment I booted up after the patch, I noticed the difference immediately in how the world flowed. Animals don't just run off the second you load anymore, NPCs feel like they belong, and combat felt tighter. Then when I got into the Forge DLC, it was like stepping into this unexpected new chapter where I wasn't just fighting or questing, I was building something meaningful. And that's when I realized how much care has gone into shaping this patch. It's not about throwing flashy content for the sake of it, it's about weaving new features into the world so they feel natural.